Before you keep scrolling, answer this honestly. When was the last time you spoke to someone who actually knew what was going on underneath your "I'm fine"? Dear friend, you can be surrounded by people all day and still come home to a silence that feels louder than any room you were just standing in. That's a very specific kind of ache, and it rarely gets named correctly, because from the outside, your life doesn't look empty. It just feels that way. This letter isn't going to tell you to put yourself out there, like that phrase solves anything on its own. This is about understanding what loneliness is actually signaling and what to do with that signal, instead of just enduring it in silence. By the end of this letter, I want the ache to feel less like proof something is wrong with you, and more like information you can finally act on. Nobody prepares you for how loneliness can exist right in the middle of a full calendar. You can have coworkers, acquaintances, a group chat that never really stops buzzing, and still feel like nobody would notice for days if you simply disappeared. That contradiction is confusing, because you keep checking the evidence against the feeling. I have people, so why does this feel so empty? And the math never quite adds up, because loneliness was never really about head count. It's about being known, actually known. The difference between someone who could describe your schedule and someone who could describe what's been sitting on your chest lately. Most people have plenty of the first kind of person in their life. Fewer have any of the second kind. And that gap is where this specific ache lives. And underneath it, there's usually a quiet, unspoken fear that admitting this out loud would be humiliating. That saying, "I'm lonely," sounds like a confession of failure, evidence that something is wrong with you specifically, when everyone else seems to have figured out how to be close to people. Here's what I want you to hear first. Loneliness is not a character flaw. It is one of the most universal experiences a human being has, precisely because connection was never supposed to be automatic. It was always supposed to require effort on both sides, continuously. You are not broken for feeling its absence. You are responding exactly the way a person is built to respond when something essential is missing. But loneliness, left alone too long, starts telling you a lie. And like every convincing lie, it doesn't announce itself as one. It tells you that you're lonely because something is fundamentally wrong with you. Too much, too little, too awkward, too intense, too quiet, whatever version of two your mind reaches for at 1 a.m. It tells you that everyone else finds connection easily, and you're the exception, the one people orbit but never quite land close to. That belief feels like self-knowledge. It's actually just isolation talking, and isolation is a terrible narrator, because the less connection you have, the more your mind fills the silence with reasons why you don't deserve more of it. Here's the truth the lie is hiding. Loneliness doesn't mean you're unlovable. It usually means one of two much more solvable things. Either the people around you aren't the right depth of relationship for what you actually need, or the muscle of initiating closeness has simply gone quiet from disuse, the way any unused muscle does. Neither of those is a character flaw. Both of those are fixable, starting today, in a way that "there's something wrong with me" was never going to be. Loneliness also lies to you about effort. It convinces you that if you have to try this hard to be close to people, it must not be real connection, that it should just happen naturally if you were the right kind of person. But almost every meaningful adult friendship was built deliberately by someone willing to go first. Connection was never supposed to be effortless. It was only ever supposed to be worth the effort. So let's talk about what actually closes the gap, because waiting to simply stop feeling lonely has never once worked for anyone. First, name the difference between solitude and loneliness. because they are not the same thing, and confusing them keeps people stuck. Solitude is chosen, restorative, and often necessary. Loneliness is the ache of wanting closeness and not having it. If time alone leaves you refreshed, that's solitude, and it's not the problem. If it leaves you hollow, that's the signal worth acting on. Second, pick depth over breadth. You don't need 20 acquaintances. You need 1 or 2 people who know what's actually going on with you. Stop measuring the gap by how many contacts are in your phone, and start measuring it by how many of them you could call at 11 p.m. on a genuinely hard night. Third, be the one who reaches out first, even though it feels exposed. Send the message that says, thinking about you, want to catch up, without waiting for proof they'd want to hear from you. Most people are quietly waiting for the same invitation you are, and somebody has to go first. Let it be you, not because you're needier than anyone else, but because you're the one holding this letter right now. Fourth, replace vague plans with specific ones. We should hang out sometime dies quietly in almost every group chat that's ever existed. Are you free Thursday at 7? Survives. Specificity is what turns a wish into an actual plan, and actual plans are what rebuild the muscle of closeness. Fifth, accept that some outreach won't land, and let that be all right. Not everyone will respond the way you hope. That's not proof the lie was right. That's just how initiating anything works. Some doors open, some don't. And the only real failure is deciding after one closed door that you'll never knock again. None of this requires you to become a different person. It requires you to treat connection the way you'd treat any other skill that's gone rusty, with small, deliberate, slightly uncomfortable repetition until it starts to feel natural again. So here's what I want you to do the moment this letter ends. Pick one person, not the whole list in your head of everyone you've drifted from. One. Send them something specific today, a real question, a real invitation, a real "I've been thinking about you," not a vague someday, today. You are not lonely because something is wrong with you. You are lonely because connection requires ongoing effort that nobody warned you about, and you've been carrying that ache in silence, assuming it meant something worse than it does. It doesn't mean you're unlovable. It means a muscle has gone quiet, and muscles that go quiet can be woken back up, one small, specific, slightly uncomfortable message at a time. You are not as far from being known as this silence has convinced you that you are. Send the message. Let someone in. That's the whole first step, and it's smaller than the ache has been making it feel. Until the next letter, Elias.